so that I don't forget.
Connie's on it.
I know. Because we got to get this replay out to any of the ladies that can't make it. So we'll give it a few more moments just to let some of the ladies get on. In the meantime, in the chat, you can start answering these questions that hopefully you see on the screen. What city and state you're joining us from tonight, and introduce yourself and a bit about your business, and share with us if you have any needs in the marketplace. And if the actual crowd on the call is small, we might actually get to do this out loud with everybody. But I want to know where you're calling from. Chandler. Or Warren, Oregon. Okay. I've been to Portland, Connie, but I have not been to Warren. All right, Lauren is coming.
Yeah, it's just about 45 minutes out.
Okay, cool. All right, Lauren is calling in from Phoenix. Bridget, yes, you have a new business, which is a staffing agency. Whoop, whoop. And also working on some courses for success. Yes, through the Heart Habits. All right, Becky is here from Mesa, Arizona. That's typically where we have the live Boss Talks, there in Mesa. And has a home bakery. And I still have yet to actually have any of Becky's, no, I take that back, because Becky actually made desserts for the Boss Talk anniversary. She made gluten-free, like, chocolate muffins, like cupcakes that she adapted from a whole cake, because I was kind of being special and wanted cupcakes. And they were delicious. They were absolutely delicious. And she's starting a natural living blog, which, yes, I'm super excited to see how that starts to unfold for you, Becky. Okay, so you're wanting to learn more about how to use WordPress. Okay, cool. All right, Connie mentors businesses on cash flow and profit planning. All right, to emphasize on making numbers easy. Cool. And has a new brand releasing on October. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, we'll give it just a few more moments, and then we'll go ahead and officially kick off tonight's session. So Alicia is calling in from Tobyhanna, PA. I never knew that. I thought you were like in Pittsburgh.
No, ma'am.
Oh, no, that is not Pittsburgh at all. So yes, so Alicia has a virtual assistant agency, and so right now she is in need of finding leads. I think, but that's a problem for all of us, right? So that she can follow up with them. Lauren, of course, is a business attorney and looking to cross-brand with some new audiences. So I think, doing that through some speaking and different things like that. Bridget's got a need in the marketplace is finding people who want to work with her niche and getting her biz set up well with her partners. Connie's looking for speaking opportunities, podcast networking, the new brand, new educational opportunities. Awesome. So, all right, so it's about 5 after, so we're going to go ahead and get this party officially started. So I am La Vista. For those that don't know me, it's like hasta la vista, and you'll be able to say it right every single time, I promise. So welcome to Boss Talk. This is a special online edition. So far, the past year and a couple of months that Boss Talk has been in existence, it has really only been an in-person event here in East Valley, Arizona, which is where I currently reside, by way of the great state of Ohio, which is my forever home. And But tonight we have a special session that we're having. We had Lauren as our Boss Talk guest last week for the month of September at our normal Boss Talk session, and the Q&A about business law was like so amazing. I actually had to stop the ladies from asking questions because our time had run out. And so Lauren was gracious enough to give us some additional time to go through some more questions about, business law. So I wanted to put it out there for anybody and everybody who wanted a chance to talk to an amazing attorney about their particular businesses and what questions that they have, so that she can answer those, so that you can connect with her on a deeper level, and potentially even walk away with a new partner in business, so that you guys can connect more one-on-one. So a little bit of background about Boss Talk. We are a little over a year old. We had our 1-year anniversary in July of this year, so I'm like super excited about that. Definitely looking to do more online things like this with Boss Talk, so that women all across the country can actually be part of this community. And I'm actually looking to take Boss Talk into some other chapters, make some other chapters across the country. So there will be some in-person Boss Talk sessions coming to a city near you. So if that piques your interest, let me know, and we might be able to work out something to bring a Boss Talk physically to you. So the reason that I started Boss Talk was, for about 1.5 years, I actually co-led what I call a more traditional networking group, where you can come in, you give your pitch, you might sit and listen to a presentation. We would have asked like, hey, I need, help filling up this program, or, help with getting registrations, or whatever the case may be, and then we would leave. It was good rapport that we had with the women, but I always walked away feeling like something was missing for me. And so about 6 months before I stepped away from leadership of that group, I realized one of the things that was missing was the stories of success of the women that I was around. So it's like, okay, I see you speaking, or I see that you've got this book that's come out, or I see that, you're here with this client, or maybe you're traveling or doing these other things. How are you doing that? Like, I want to understand how that success has happened. What, lessons have you learned from failures that you've experienced along the way? And I wanted to, create a space that women felt safe to actually share those vulnerable stories. Like, hey, this didn't work out so well for me. Maybe you shouldn't do this particular thing, or maybe you shouldn't do it this way, or this was amazing for me. Let me show you how I did it. Let me share with you the details, the steps that I took that you don't necessarily see on my highlight reel on Instagram or on Facebook. Let me actually express to you the good, the bad, and the real of my entrepreneurial journey. And the hope with that is that something that I say, or that one of the guests at the monthly Boss Talk say, will resonate with the other women that are there, and will help maybe to encourage them to continue going along their journey, or inspire them to maybe take a leap in something that they have been really wanting to do, but now they have seen that, hey, this woman did it, and it wasn't perfect, and it wasn't super easy, but she did it, and I now have somebody that I can actually have some honest dialogue with, that can show me how I can do it as well. And that's the other piece that goes into the Boss Talk community, is having that safe space where you don't have to come and present yourself in a certain way where, hey, I'm Lavista, everything is perfect in my business, and this is why you should work with me. So when we have in-person sessions, we don't do any pitches or anything like that. We come in, similar to what I had you all type in the chat. We share what our name is. We talk about, who it is we serve, like who our audience is. That way we can better, introduce people that we're meeting at Boss Talk, and we talk about what our need is, because my thought is that somebody in that room is either going to be the answer to that need or is connected with someone that is. And unless you are able to share and actually be honest and say, hey, I'm having an issue, I have this need, you know, this is really what I or my business needs, how are you ever going to get that need met? So this is definitely not the place where you have to present yourself in a certain kind of way. You can just be your real authentic self here. So with that, I want to get into why we're actually here tonight. And it's again to help build a legal foundation for your business. So Lauren, like I said, did such an amazing job at Boss Talk last week, sharing different aspects of her story, sharing with us, you know, her biggest failures and the lessons learned from those, her biggest successes, talking to us about building trust equity and collaborating with others, and that it was an amazing story. But she is an attorney. She focuses on business law, and so there is a certain skill set, right, that she brings to the table that each and every single one of us needs. So with that, I'm going to ask Lauren to unmute herself and then share with us, Lauren, you know, just a little bit about who you are and, you know, exactly how your business serves the marketplace. And then we're going to jump right on into our Q&A so that Lauren can get to the questions that you all have about your businesses. So Lauren, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. There we go. I was like, I can't see myself. So if I look weird or crazy, please let me know. There we go. Now I can see myself, so I can adjust accordingly. Perfect. You can see my face and not half of it. Great. So I am a business attorney. I specialize in pre-litigation law. And basically what that means is that I am proactive in working with you in your day-to-day business, laying the foundation as things come through and fro, day-to-day business, to prevent you from being in court and needing to have lawsuits and things like that. I specialize in 4 areas, which honestly I call it the life cycle of business, because if you are starting off or if you have been in business for years, your business cycles through these kind of 4 categories, which is essentially entity setup. Starting off, you might set up your entity, but later down the line, you need to convert your entity to something else that fits your business needs as they have shifted. Secondly, I work with contracts, which can kind of double over with compliance issues sometimes, needing to make sure you are complying with things like that. They're completely separate, but compliance can fall under contracts, because compliance is usually a lot of regulatory things and a lot of procedures and policies you need to have in place, which is a lot of reading, such as contracts are. So I do both of those. I do trademarking, protecting your intellectual property, copywriting, which is so critical and important in this day and age when we live in a business world that's online, right? So you have no control and no real range, no real idea of how far your brand is going to go. So protecting your intellectual property is essential. And then lastly, I specialize in employment law matters, because at some point you're going to have independent contractors or employees. Even if it's just you are an employee or an independent contractor. Get with their accountant, see how you want to pay yourself, but you are one of the other for your business. So even with you, what does that look like? You know, do you have a handbook in place? Do you want to be an independent contractor? What are the laws around making sure you are an independent contractor versus an employee? And more so when you hire people and you actually have those human resources that you are controlling, that is where a huge factor of that comes in play. And honestly, we all know managing ourselves every day is hard, right? Sometimes at 2:00 in the afternoon, Lauren is not nice. Lauren is like having a moment, and I need to manage myself, which can be a challenge. So managing other people at all times is always a challenge. So human resources and dealing with other people, a lot of legalities come up, and there are state-specific, federal-specific laws that come into play around how you manage people. So yeah, that is pretty much what I do.
Awesome. So thank you again for giving us even more of your time, even after an amazing Boss Talk last week. So what I want to do then is open it up to the ladies that are on the call for any business law questions that you have, especially, you know, if it's pertaining to your own personal business. So I know for sure that Bridget has a specific question, but anybody is more than welcome to unmute yourself and chime in.
All right, well, since nobody is chiming in yet, I'll go ahead and ask my question. Is that cool?
That's cool.
So, Lauren, thank you. I've actually hired you before for business contracts, and I appreciate your work. It's super high quality. Love it. So thank you for that. And I have so much more work coming your way soon. So thanks for giving me this moment just to help my partner and I direct our conversation. So we come to you with like a half a clue and don't have to waste so much of your time later, right? So we have 3 people who are basically, I'm going to call right now the partners. We've put ourselves together on the LLC. We're the members together of the LLC, of a member-directed LLC. And we're going to be an S Corp. I don't really know what most of these words say, but one of my partners, she does, so that's awesome, right? I kind of know what they mean enough. But where we're at right now is we're ready to write up like a founder or partner agreement. And we're not sure which of those 2 is better. I kind of read through a template of each of them and they seem very similar to me. The founder agreement though was like 8 pages long. The partner agreement was like 3 pages long. I was like, it sounds like we're at like 3 pages right now. I'm cool with that, right? I don't know, so that was my question to you is there a difference between the 2? What's better? What should we make sure we get on the paper? And we do already have a kind of a outlook and plan of what we're trying to get to in the long run. So I have that in the back of my head also, as to like want to make sure that whatever we create now makes that better, easier, good down the road too.
Yeah, absolutely. There is so many different names for contracts out here these days. I'm gonna be honest with you, they are one and the same.
Okay.
Yeah, because even you were saying you were looking at it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you were looking at them, and the language, it didn't vary too much. Honestly, the length is going to depend on what is needed for your business and what you are doing. I'm going to throw a loophole in there for you, though, and throw in a new agreement that you guys should be considering that I know for sure, because you live in Arizona, that you need is an operating agreement. And
Okay.
so a lot of the things in a founding agreement, what it's going to focus on is like why you guys are founded, what the purpose is, what you're doing, things like that, is what's going to be in an operating agreement. And then it's possible in an operating agreement to take the partnership language and things like that. Honestly, what's the difference is just the different clauses, right? So you speak specifically to partnerships things, you speak specifically to the founding things, but it's quite plausible to have all 3 of them in one document, because it's just different clauses that speak to the things that they essentially would have for it. So for your partnership agreement or the operating agreement, you can have partnership clauses in there that speak to your relationship and how the nature of it and how it's going to flow. But why this is important for you and why you need an operating agreement, honestly, you can still have both. You can still have an operating agreement and a partnership agreement, but you absolutely need an operating agreement because you have an LLC, and in Arizona, they just changed the law and it is required for you now. So if I were you, I would be getting an operating agreement with partnership clauses and language in there, because you need it and you have to be compliant, and you might as well get the bang for your buck. And it's the operating agreement. What's required in there is for you discussing some of the financial obligations of the business, some of the policies and procedures that you're going to discuss in the partnership agreement anyway. You can do both with an operating agreement. Unless honestly, and I don't know the specifics of it, unless you guys had a very, very complex partnership agreement or a partnership relationship, that is when I would maybe recommend you need a partnership agreement separate. But just in general, and I know I've talked to you in the past about some of your ideas for business stuff, I would, in starting off, because you guys already know you want to be an S Corp down the line, things like that, I would start off with an operating agreement, something foundational, get it in writing, get the structure going, get the protection that you need now, get some of those partnership clauses in there, and then just start there. And then if needed later, you can move over to something else.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Yep.
you.
You're welcome.
I'll be calling you to set up an operating agreement.
Yes, ma'am. I look forward to it.
And speaking of operating agreements, I know that you had recently hosted an operating agreement training. Is like a replay or something available that we could purchase that operating agreement course? Tell us about that a bit.
Yeah, so the operating agreement course, I basically talk about what the operating agreement is, why you need it, and what are some of the clauses that you should have within your operating agreement. Because I also actually have operating agreement templates. I can talk about that maybe at the end. There's a new platform that I'm launching out specifically for startup businesses, because usually the problem ends up being that they have a lot of time and not a lot of financial resources, but honestly, they're the most vulnerable for legal risk and protection because they are trying to do this on their own. They're hustling and on the side, and they're just making all of these sacrifices, time with family and friends, and they're skipping corners, cutting corners. And if something goes wrong because they don't have the protections in place, not only are all the sacrifices that they made at risk, but they're personally at risk because they didn't have their foundation in place. So they're more at risk than the big companies because at least they have, you know, some protection between them and the company. And so that's really my heart, is to create some platform and resources for that. But that replay is a part of that part of the resources that will be available on that platform. It will be tutorials, it will be videos in there educating you from a credible source, right? Because honestly, there's a plethora of information out there, but the problem is there's such a plethora that you get overwhelmed and you don't know where to go. You don't know if it's a credible source. Legal Shield is not a credible source. They are not attorneys. They will not give you legal advice. They give you the templates and they give you their questions, and then that's it. They won't help you along the way. So you're basically at square one again, because if you would have Googled a contract, you could have Googled something and got it and still not known what to do with it, right? So people are needing more guidance. They're needing more help, more hands-on stuff. And that's what that platform will do. We're providing the template, providing instructions, and providing general instructional videos that tell you, hey, this is generally what this is, and it's for your state. This is where you need to go for your state and look up the information that you're looking for. And so that operating agreement replay is available. I can post the link in here. It's on my social media platforms, but it's $50 just to know what the operating agreement is, where you get it from, or where you need to be researching the specific things for your state from. And basically, it's less than an hour. It's 45 minutes, because I know law is dense stuff, right? Nobody wants to sit around on a Saturday and watch legal videos for 3 hours. I get it. So I try to make it light and fun and fluffy. I'm a fun person anyway. I couldn't be boring. So yeah, that's that.
All right, yeah, so we
Thank
definitely
you.
want to circle back and make sure that we give you some time to talk about that platform and the different templates and stuff like that you have out there, in case that's a resource that the ladies need. So cool. All right, who else has a question? It looks like Connie is unmuted, so Connie, the floor is yours.
Hi. So when I had my bookkeeping business and I had clients for 12 months or whatever, or longer, contracts made a lot of sense, you know, because it was monthly retainers. But I've been getting clients that are just 90 days. And so my contract seems heavy now, because it's just going to be such a quick turnaround. They're just projects. Is it common to have more than one contract for the work you do? Can you have a simplified version for this type of thing? Is it, I guess you're going to say it's always necessary, but maybe it's not.
Connie, you are a like-minded professional. You already know this. I just died laughing. I was like, yeah, you definitely need a contract, because here's the thing. What if somebody decides in 60 days they don't want to pay you anymore, but you've already done work for 60 days? And so what are the terms around the breach of contract, things like that? So absolutely agree with you. The contract for a year is probably a little bit heavy for what you are now going through. And honestly, just a good rule of thumb is that our practices and our businesses are a lot like our lives. They are forever changing. And honestly, you might have a bad client or a really amazing client, and you have different experiences, and you modify just little shifts or things like that to your business. And we never think to update our contracts. We never think to update the nature of business and the flow of our relationship, although they change all the time. So good rule of thumb in general is just to be reviewing your contracts yearly. But I would definitely say scale down, get a simpler version of your contract, things like that. And you can definitely have multiple contracts. I actually for one of the templates that I have is a service agreement contract for this, and I basically let them know, or one of the things that I've done when I've done a custom, but the way that I've made the template for the service agreement is that you can have one contract with your multiple services on there, and the way that it's worded, it just says these are the services I offered, and then you can go through and customize it with that one person, and then you like circle or check off the services they're actually receiving, and then customize the pricing and things like that based off of that, which gives you a little bit more of flexibility without having to go in every single time you have a new client and change your services. You just have one template, it's all there, but you can still customize that template based off of the client that you have currently in present. That's honest. I'm all about efficiency, effectiveness. I know all of us in the daily hustle and bustle, who has time to be going through and looking up a contract and rereading something and making sure it's still consistent and flowing throughout. I don't. I just want to do it one time. I want to plug in all the things that I might need. And when I need that service, I circle that service off. I check that service off. That fee is totaled here. We know, and you can still do that all within your computer and make it look professional without handwriting everywhere and things like that. So easy peasy. That's my recommendation. That's what I live by. And that's what I have created my templates around, is easy and efficiency so you're still protected and not having, honestly, it's a risk every time you have to go in and edit it and change things. And you don't want to just leave yourself that vulnerable. So that would be my recommendation.
Cool. And so a follow-up question to that then would be, in the past for accounting services, we would list out all the deliverables on an appendix A or whatever on the end. We would customize that part of it. For coaching though, my coach told me not to go into that much detail. My coach said on the contract to make it more general, because there weren't as many deliverables. And in accounting services, there's actual deliverables, how often will you touch it, and that type of thing. And it just kind of, but I'm still getting clients that are wanting more information within the contract framework. Can you do different things? Can you do a contract that talks about payment and refunds and liability, and then have another one that talks deliverables, or are they always going to be the same thing?
Absolutely. What you would reference, or what I would call it, is a statement of work, right? So you can go into the specifics that change and vary, and basically in the template contract or your standard form contract, you just make mention that the work described that we're going to do is mentioned in the statement of work, and then make sure that somewhere in the contract it has a clause in there that makes the statement of work a part of the contract. However, statement of works change, right? So a contract is signed and things like that, but the statement of work, we still want it to be a part of the contract. It's referenced and things like that. But we put in the contract that the statement of work from time to time might change with 30 days of notice, et cetera, things of that nature. And I do this all day, every day. I will literally just go into contract language and terminology with you and just start spinning it out. And then everyone's like, oh, that was so great. I wanted it in my contract. And I was like, that was off the dome. Honestly, I cannot repeat it for you, but there you go. Something like that.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. So
You're welcome.
We'll be in conversation.
Sounds good.
I think that was really good advice for everybody. And because in 19 years in business, I don't think when we had major changes in the business, I would review the contracts, but I wasn't reviewing them every year. And usually, I did get caught off guard. Somebody really asked me a lot of in-depth questions on my contract, and I totally freaked out. It was a really good learning experience for me to read through it and be able to have a conversation about it, but it was a real growth point for me to do that. But normally we don't. We get one from our attorney and we use it, and I can't remember clients ever taking the time to review their contracts.
Yeah, it's a thing. It is. And honestly, in my own practice, I am just like you guys. And honestly, I review mine, and it's kind of privy to me, right? Because I am the person who reviews it, and it's free. I don't have to pay anyone. However, I will update mine as often as necessary. So I will have clients like a few months ago, I had a really, really bad client, and I shared this story at the Boss Talk, the actual on the Till couch last week. And basically it was just catastrophic, everything about it. And I had a contract that touched everything that we had, but it wasn't in detail enough. And so and here's the other thing I want to caution people with too, because it's one or two things that happens when you have a bad experience. So one, you always want to protect yourself a little bit more. That's the great takeaway. the thing that I want to caution you guys away from doing is that when something happens, you get into this fear mode and you want to get in and just specify every single little thing based off of that one bad experience or the fear that this is going to happen again and you're going to do that. That will get you in more trouble than not. So you still want to really get to the root of what the issue was here. So they basically said that they didn't get a service from mine that they did get, because it was worded differently up front. And so my takeaway was, I'm not going to say and like list out every single point of service and this is what you're going to get. The takeaway is, I'm just going to say, hey, use of my address in general for specifically this purpose or this purpose in general. I don't need to say those specific things. I'm just, use of my address period is this fee. So when they come back, we're not arguing, because the point of it is you use my address, but because you didn't use it specifically the way that it was listed on the thing, you want to say, and honestly, it's cats and dogs. I don't have time to do this with you. Here, take your money back. It's easier, right? But in business, I can't do that every single time and with every single person, because it becomes cumbersome and we lose money. But the great way and the learning experience for me and walking away with that and doing that is to update my contract to protect myself, but still be general enough to make sure I'm protected, but not micro specific that I am actually hurting myself even more. Because honestly, what's going to happen is it's going to change. Another type of address is going to come up, right? Maybe they're using my email address, Lord forbid, down the line. Who knows the nature of my business, but I forget to change that section. And now we're back to square one because I didn't specify use of my physical address or statutory agent or my email address. They're like, oh, you actually said that we were going to use this, your PO box, and that's not on there. So we want a refund for it. It's like, I just say generally the use of that. And that's how nitpicky it can be. And that scares people. And so that's why it's good to work with a good attorney, because sometimes getting specific can hurt you in the long run more than it can help you. So it's like, what was the actual root problem here? What are we really trying to solve? Because I assure you, naming this out specifically is not going to help you, because something else is going to happen. The nature of business is going to change. The economy is going to change. Just business in general is going to change, and that's not relevant anymore. And now you're back to square one. So
Thank you.
that was a long rant tangent. Sorry, I hit a pain point.
No, but it was good. And I think that was a good point, because I picked up on that too, Connie. Like, I too, like, if I've had a big pivot in my business, I'll go back and like look at like my contract. I'm like, okay, this needs to be updated. But I have never gotten into a habit of going in like yearly to like just look at things and make sure like, oh, like, is this still applicable or whatever. So Lauren, like, taking that a bit further, that yearly review, is that something that we as like a lay person can do, or is the suggestion then to actually have like a consult with your attorney like once a year to actually go through your contract verbiage?
I think both. Honestly, I think you should always know what your contract says and be familiar with it. So that being said, and it's important because you know the nature, the day-to-day flow of your business. I don't know that. I might generally be familiar with your industry. I'm going to sit down with you. I'm going to have questions and do hypothetical scenarios with you so I can learn from learn about your business so I can do your contract. But I don't know your business like you know it, and no one else does. So when it comes around to that year and it's time for you to update it, the changes that have happened in your business. I don't. So it's a good rule of thumb for you to go through and read it and review it and make some notes, make some changes and put in there and say, this is what this did. This is, this is how that changed in my business. And then go to your attorney and have a conversation. It's going to benefit you both in the long run. And it possibly might save you money because now you are telling them the changes that you need and laying out a roadmap for them that will help trigger the red flags as they're going through it. Instead of them having to search and research and spend more time asking you questions and probing and doing all of that. Help them help you. So.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarity. That was good. That was a good takeaway for myself. So I have a question for you. So, at Boss Talk, there is a mix of business owners that, maybe are more seasoned and have been in business for quite some time. And then there are also women that come that, don't even actually have their business yet. They just have this dream that they are wanting to launch. What do you say to the business owner that is, sitting and listening, it's like, oh, like contracts, oh, operating agreements, oh, these different things. But, maybe I've been in business for like 12 years and I don't have any of these things. What do you say to her, to it, and she might be feeling like shame, associated with like, oh, like I don't have any of these things, or I don't have a lot of these things in place for myself, but I've been at this for a while. What would you say to kind of help her get over that and actually, build the foundation that she needs even 12 years in?
Absolutely. Honestly, it's no shame ever. There's no shame in what you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. And honestly, law school is hard. And like, you didn't go to law school, and I didn't go to accounting school, and I didn't, I'm not good at scheduling and marketing and whatever it may be. We all have our lane. We all own our lane. Mm-hmm. And that's the great, beautiful thing of the, the boss community, is that we come together and we can share our skills and help each other and uplift each other. And that's what it's really about. No one should ever feel shame. Because I have said in some classes, and I'm like, oh, that, and to me, once they say it, it's like, that sounds like common sense, Lauren. Duh. Why would you not know to have your business page not blocked on social media? So it's your business and you want to sell, so people need to be able to access it, right? Just little things like, and I'm like, oh, that is such a good idea, but that's not my lane. My brain does not work that way. It does not function that way. And here's the thing. If you are humble, this is my personal phrase. I don't know if it's a quote or something like that. Maybe I've adopted it over the years, but if you are humble enough in life, as we all should be, you can learn something every single day, and you can learn from anything. You can learn from a baby. You can learn from a tree. I mean, within reason, not like really dumb fluff stuff. But seriously, if you ever watch a baby, they're like resilient. They never give up. When a baby falls, it never crosses that baby's mind that I'm never going to walk. They just scramble around and figure it out until they eventually walk, but they never give up. And it's a part of the process. And because they're just a baby, we normalize it and goo goo gaga over them taking their first steps. But that's really what life is. Like, every time we fall, things like that, it's not a moment for us to give up. It's a moment for us to take a step back, reassess, but keep going after it. Like, it should almost be effortless, like thoughtless. We don't even think about it. Like, just do it again, keep doing it again, and do it again, and do it again. And so once again, there's just no shame in anything. If you can glean something from someone and implement it, it's never too late. Never too late to learn and do better. So it's no shame ever, period.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for that. Who else has a question for the marvelous Lauren? Becky or Alicia, do you have anything you wanted to specifically ask? Oh, Becky says she loves the baby analogy. Maybe she can't unmute herself, so I'll ask Becky's question. It says, can you speak to what kind of disclaimers a natural living, natural health, and monetized blog might need to post? And Lauren, you can.
Yes. Sorry, I'm gonna just go back and read it one more time. I'm a visual person, so I need to see it. Disclaimers a natural living, natural health. Monetize blog. Yes. So I'll split them up. So the natural living, natural health aspect is so important, because people will immediately assume that you're a doctor. So you just need to disclaim that this is information and educational, not to be taken by a doctor. If you have any major health concerns, life risks, things like that, please consult a medical physician. So definitely that. I think there are some just general disclaimers in general for your platform. I would say for you would need to look into the website terms of use and policy. A lot of those generic disclaimers are going to be very helpful just across any platform, and then specify that this is, just purely for education purposes. As mentioned before, you're not a physician, things like that. And honestly, even if you are a physician, you want to put it on there, because what you are, you can say, I'm like me, I am an attorney, but I'm not your attorney until you hire me and retain me for stuff, right? So just so we're clear on that, I can talk legal stuff and general stuff all day, but I'm not giving you personalized advice and general stuff because I'm not your attorney yet, right? So you just want to make sure that you disclaim stuff around that. Those are the biggest ones. I've actually done some of those policies and disclaimers for several medical industry fields, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, you want to put some disclaimers around HIPAA in there, right? So if you have like a blog, as you mentioned with the blog, and people are commenting, making sure that they are aware of the HIPAA policies, even if they're disclosing it themselves, you just want to put something in there where they're aware of it, right? And that you aren't going to ever disclose somebody's personal information, things like that. Because HIPAA is really big in the medical field and just health in general. Even though it's natural, I know, but you still just want to cross your T's, dot your I's, and make sure you're compliant with all the rules around it. Those are all the ones I can think off the top of my head. I know that there probably are more. I can't remember those specific ones that I've done. I'm literally going through and looking through the client and like going in my head, like trying to remember, sitting down, typing out everything, and I can't. But those are the general ones. And I think for money isn't, it's not really an industry. It's not really a heavily regulated industry where you would need to disclaim a lot of stuff outside of the general disclaimers. If you wanted to just be like, once again, this is solely educational purposes, not for actual advice or things like that. That's always a good rule of thumb, but I don't really see a lot being needed for the money side of it, but the natural side, it would need a few more just to make sure you're protected from giving out unsolicited medical advice from an unlicensed and or licensed, but not their licensed professional. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Oh, I have a question, Lauren. So, personally, I have a few services that I provide clients, and so I do have a partnership agreement that I have clients sign. Like if I'm doing a more kind of like long engagement with them, but if I'm just getting on and doing like a 90-minute consult or something like that, I don't have them doing any kind of contract. Is that a problem? Like, should I have something in place for just like that amount of time that we're together if it's not like an ongoing engagement?
No, not necessarily. What I would recommend there is more so like when you when they sign up for it, you have them acknowledge something like disclaimers or the terms of use, things like that. So that's an easy way of doing it. It's just to put it in your website or things like that. Because what if somebody says, "Hey, I thought this was the worst 90 minutes of my life." They would never say that about you, by the way. But hypothetical situation. They're like, "This is horrible, and I want my money back." What are your rules and policies about that, right? So making sure that that's clear up front, because if I were you, it doesn't matter. My time was spent and it's non-refundable, period, point blank. Just having that as a part of like when they set up the appointment, things like that, or you send it over to them, just rule of thumb, so you're familiar with it, so you are aware of what's happening, and just have them acknowledge it in some way, like checking it off the box to sign up or something like that. Nothing, I wouldn't have them have to sign it and be in depth and things like that. Keep it light and fluffy, right? It should be equivalent to the type of relationship you want to have with it. I'm not giving you a 10-page document for 90 minutes of your life. It's not that serious. But I will give you a half pager for 90 minutes of your life to make sure we don't have any miscommunication issues of what is to be expected and what is to be received in return for that I'm giving. One other thing I just want to, it's a words matter, and you have to be really specific in legal stuff. You don't have a partnership agreement with the longer term people. You have a service agreement with them, because if you were in partnership, as I was kind of talking about with Bridget earlier, it literally means you're in partnership with your business. I get what you're doing though, literally. And in your business, you're saying, I'm partnering up with you to do these wonderful things in your business, which is totally fine, but it's actually a service agreement. So I just wanted you to know that moving forward, but that's all.
Got it.
Could you put that checkbox on your scheduler? Could you put a statement like that on the scheduler where they could check it and then acknowledge it, kind of like a online form or something?
Yeah, that's
absolutely. Yep, I actually have some of those available in my scheduler, depending on what it is. I have it set up, just a disclaimer in general about rule of thumb. When I do my my free consult, if you're more than 5 minutes late for the free consult, it's canceled. Like, and it's free, so it's not really a lot there on the line, but it's still basically the rules of engagement that I want to be governing this relationship. Anytime I'm giving you is valuable, period. So these are the rules of thumb that I am giving. So, and honestly, it happens all the time. People email me and they're like, you didn't show up on the call and things like that. And I'm like, you were actually late to the call. Here's a link you can reschedule if you want to, because these are my rules and this is how that works. And you acknowledged it because you signed up for it. So there we go.
Now all of us are going to go back to our schedulers and add that.
Yes, everybody's gonna be like, who they been talking to? Well, they got all these disclaimers in there. So do it. Yeah, absolutely. I do it. And some of my more strict ones, it's like, hey, once you purchase this template, things like that, like it's sent out, there are no refunds. There's this and this. Like I put that's in my my disclosure when they go through the purchase it and things like that. So sometimes it's not necessarily the scheduler, but the other checkout systems.
Nice.
So yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Great point, Connie.
Yeah, that's good. I hadn't even thought about adding it there, so that's a good idea. So, any other questions? This might be like last call, but then I have one last question before we close for the evening. So I don't see anything in the chat, and I don't see anybody else unmuting. So, a common hurdle, I guess, that I hear, Lauren, when it comes to, oh, you need to go see an attorney for X, Y, and Z is like you kind of alluded to at the beginning of the call, like I'm in the startup phase, like, I don't have the cash flow to really, retain an attorney. And I think that is part of the foundation of your platform, like with the templates and things like that. So can you give us, some more detail as to what that entails and where we can find it? Because I don't think we actually said the name of your business. So, how do we find you? How do we continue to connect with you? And then talk to us about your platform as we come to a close.
Absolutely. So as promised, I promise once I finish speaking here, I'm going to pop in the chat and give you guys my links for the operating agreement replay, just everything. Like it's actually a link tree, so you'll be able to go and get all of my links from my website, all of that stuff. But basically the name of my business, current business, so it's Activated Law. Sorry, I'm like, how do I explain this? So it kind of is. It kind of is. So with the launch of the platform, that just basically, and I mentioned this to you guys, the life cycle of the business, in launching that and recognizing the audience for that and the reach for that, it birthed a new business. And so that business is launching October 1st. But that is what the platform is. The platform is the new business. And so it's already out. It's already in the works. As far as like the templates are available, pieces are available, but people don't know that it's a part of the platform yet. And so I've kind of started alluding to it on social media a little bit, but essentially that platform, and I won't tell you guys the name, follow me on social media if you haven't, it's coming actually in a couple of weeks, I'll be doing some like reveal, like surprise little, dropping hints as to what it is. And then eventually it'll launch on October 1st. But basically the platform it's a la carte and or bundled services where you can get some of the resources you need. Honestly, all the resources you need. The categories that I named before are the entity setup. So there will be videos and checklists around which entity you need, which entity is right for you. Just some, you do some questions, and then at the end of the question is like, based off of these results, we would recommend that you get this type of entity. And then the next step is like, this is the checklist around setting up that entity and how you do this. This is where you go for your state to make sure you set this up. This is what you need to research, and this is what you do. Now, to an established business owner, that is very cumbersome. That is why they pay me to do this for them, because they don't want to do that. However, the problem is with startups, they don't have those resources, but they do have the time if they have a guided guide. I don't even know what to say after that. A guided, knowledgeable person to guide them in the right direction. They can figure that out on their own, and they are equipped and they're ambitious enough to do that. They're starting their own business. And so that's really the idea for it. So for trademarking, even if you're doing a really basic trademark with your name, something like that, if you're doing logo, it gets really complicated. I don't recommend doing it yourself. But You could still use the same guide if you needed to for yourself, right? But basically it'll be a video on the trademark process and the trademark system, which is so dense. The trademark website is not user-friendly at all. It's literally a whole trademark code and the arguments and how you can present stuff in front of them. It's a lot. But basically just doing a general application, you don't have to really deal with that normally. So it's like, how do you get that general application in? And what are the checklists to making sure you have everything prepared for your application before you submit it and save your money for the application fee if it were rejected because you missed off one of the common steps, right? And so then lastly is the contract templates, which come with the template and then instructions on how to fill in the templates and what questions you should be asking yourself to start the conversations up to know what clauses and what sections you need to add to that template. So that's basically the platform. And so I didn't mention this earlier to you, but is it okay? Like I have a special offer with it. I'm doing a pre-launch offer and I was gonna send it to you. I do work with nonprofit organizations as well. Nonprofits are much harder. It's not a, basically for now, they won't be a part of that platform. I do those as a part of my actual personalized services where clients hire me to do that for them. It's not basically on that DIY platform for the clients. But if you guys know any startups that are in need of that, because you're welcome. I am in, and honestly, it's been in my heart for years. I've actually done a beta testing of it a while ago. I've gotten some feedback on it. And from that, we were able to build the platform. And now I just want to do a pre-launch for it. Basically, the pre-launch gives you access to all of those resources at one flat fee. And it's like, I believe 70% off of what the bundle, if you were to bundle everything off and buy it as a whole from that platform, you can get it for basically 70% off of what that would be pre-launch of it. And so, what'd you say?
I said you love bundles.
They're great. They're easy. And here's the thing, because I honestly, at the live boss talk afterwards, I was talking to some people and they're like, hey, you gave some really great information tonight. I know I need a service agreement. I know I need an operating agreement. I know I need my website terms and policies. Honestly, I don't know which one I need first. And honestly, what the sense is that people get overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, for the pre-launch of it, why not get the whole platform for, I mean, I could tell you the price. I'm gonna email it to you too, because I want you to extend the offer to the ladies that were at the Boss Talk originally. But basically you get the entire platform. You get all the videos, all the checklists, and all of the contract templates. So you don't have to decide, and it takes that overwhelming pressure and feeling off of it for $500, which honestly is the price of 3 contracts by themselves, because the contracts are $200 each. But if you bundle them, you get some free and all of that stuff. But bundles are where it's at, man. Save people money. I honestly, as a consumer, the more you spend with somebody, you need to be rewarding me. So I am huge in customer service. I try to give out to people what I want people to give to me. So, but yeah, and it is very, very limited seating with that pre-launch, as you can imagine. So first come, first serve. I had someone buy it yesterday, and I haven't even advertised it or marketed that. I will do that before the week is over. But right now, I'm just kind of telling my boss community, my boss base. So all of my bosses. But if you guys are more established, it's not a good fit for you. And the templates are general. So the great thing about that, this is my disclaimer, it's like an educational platform. You know it's coming from a credible source, from an attorney who has set up businesses in multiple states. And I know generally what is needed. I can point you in the right direction, even outside of my license state, of what you need to be doing. So it is still you're welcome. It is still a general stuff, so it doesn't matter what state you're in, because once again, I'm not your attorney. It's providing educational resources for you. So that's why the templates and all of that stuff can be bought by anybody who's in need of small business legal resources.
That is so awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that resource.
Yes, you're welcome.
And your time and your knowledge, like, you're such a good business bestie to have.
Listen, when I tell you I love this stuff, like talking about what I do, my heart is really to serve and to help people. If I could do anything for free, I would go do mission trips and just work and serve. It's really my heart. So I light up when people just, like, I get to help people. It just really, it blesses me to bless others and help them. So for real, anytime, I'm always here to help.
Awesome. All right, so one last call for anybody that may have a question. And if not, you can expect to get this replay in your inbox sometime tomorrow, probably while the cub is at school, because that's when I'll have time to work on it. But again, thank you, Lauren, for your time. Thank you for giving us extra time and agreeing to do this live boss talk with the ladies. Thank you for extending that invitation for the platform to this community as well. So, you know, once you get that information over to me, I'll make sure to get it over with this video. And oh, you're welcome, Connie. Yes, I do actually plan to do more things virtual with the community because, like I said earlier, I want to make sure that that the community is more widespread than just East Valley, you know, Arizona. You know, I think that we're all connected through the stories that, you know, we have to share about our own entrepreneurial journeys. And I think we all have so much to be able to give each other as far as, like, you know, our talents and experiences and things like that. So this is definitely a way to utilize technology and for us to connect across the country. So there'll definitely be more of this for sure in the future. So with that, thank all of you who were able to stay up with us a little later than expected. And with that, good night. And until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Bye, ladies. Thanks for hopping on. Good night.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.